What's up, kiddies? Welcome back to Mr. Long's Learning Lounge. I'm Mr. Long. As always, thank you to my loyal listeners who choose to tune in every week. I hope I put on a show for all. Now, I'm really excited because this week's a little bit different. Apparently, Mr. Long has reached overseas and there's a publicist in America who've sent me a book. Now, I'm really excited to read this book because it's fresh off the press and I think you'll enjoy it. So, shout outs for this week go to all you American people out there. I hope everyone's safe and doing well, especially through this pandemic, and I hope you enjoy my read aloud. The book this week is Mrs. Katz, What Happens When We Die? And it's written by Amy Diggins and illustrated by, now, I hope I get this right, is it Noel Dombrowski? I apologise if I get it wrong. What happens when we die? Such an interesting question, isn't it? Well, dying is a part of life, just like taxes. That one was for all you adults out there. Let's see how the kids in Mrs. Katz's classroom attempt to answer the touchy subject of death. Good morning, everyone. I hope that you all had a great weekend. Did anyone do anything fun? Asked Mrs. Katz. I went to the zoo, yelled one student. I went swimming, said another. I was bored, said Sandy. You were bored, Sandy? Asked Mrs. Katz. Yeah, I had nothing to do, Sandy replied.
Well, I bet you weren't entirely bored, since you did have homework to do, said Mrs. Katz. I did my homework, and the extra credit too, exclaimed Alfred. Mrs. Katz chuckled. I bet you did, Alfred. You always do. Mrs. Katz's cheery smile then changed into a sad face. She had some unfortunate news to tell the class. Now, before we go over our homework, there is something important that I need to tell everyone.
All of the children focused on Mrs. Katz. Mrs. Katz was holding back tears as she began to speak softly. Over the weekend, our class hamster, Buddy, passed away. For our class, Buddy was like family. I know this isn't an easy situation for any of us to go through, and I would like to say that I am just as sad as the rest of you. Some of us have lost people or pets that we loved, and some of us have not. So I would like to take some time to answer any questions you may have. Wonder what questions the kids have for Mrs. Katz. It's very tricky to answer.
The children began to cry, and I asked, "What happened?" Mrs. Katz answered, "Well, Buddy was a very old hamster. Most hamsters only live until they are 3 years old, but we had him for almost 5 years. Unfortunately, over the weekend, Buddy got very sick. When I took him to the veterinarian, she said there was nothing that she could do to help him get better. I took Buddy back to my home and kept him comfortable and warm as he rested on my lap. A little while later, he closed his eyes and passed away. I wish Buddy didn't have to die. I loved him so much, cried Ellie. We all love Buddy, replied Mrs. Katz. And just because he isn't here doesn't mean we have to stop loving him. We may have a lot of fun memories to remind us of the good times we had with him. But I miss him so much, said Glenn. We all do, said Mrs. Katz. Because Buddy got sick and died, does that mean I'm going to get sick and die? Asked Marie. Oh no, sweetie, please don't think like that, gasped Mrs. Katz. As long as you eat healthy and continue to go to your doctor for checkups and take medicine when you do get sick in order to get better, you will be on the track to a long, healthy life. Everyone was so sad. They all missed Buddy. Mrs. Katz, what happens when you die? Asked Sandy.
At this moment, Alfred frantically started waving his hand, yelling, I know! Do you have something you would like to share with the class, Alfred? Asked Mrs. Katz. I do. Remember in science class last week, Mrs. Katz taught us all about energy and how it changes. Do you remember when she attached Buddy's hamster wheel to a lamp, and when Buddy went on to run, he generated enough electricity to turn the light bulb in the lamp on? The class all shook their heads. Yes.
Alfred continued. Well, I thought this was so interesting that when I went home, I immediately went online and started researching this topic even more. I learned that there are several laws of conservation, which means that something as simple as energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change from one form to another. Scientists also prove that every living being is made up of energy. That includes people and animals. So, what does that all mean? Asked Sandy. Okay, it's simple, said Alfred. Think of a caterpillar. It may start off as a tiny creature with 6 legs, but eventually it builds a cocoon and turns into a butterfly.
The energy it had as a caterpillar isn't gone. It has just changed its form into a butterfly. What a beautiful way to put it.
The same is true for an ice cube. When the ice melts and turns into water, the energy of the ice doesn't go away, it just changes forms. We see energy everywhere we are. Energy is the warmth we get from rubbing our cold hands together to make them warm. All of these are just a few ways that energy can change from one form to another. And just like the examples of energy, someone's own energy cannot be destroyed or gone when they die. It just changes form. Well, how come we can't see it? Asked Charlie. Alfred then asked the class, Do you see the air we breathe or the wind that blows on a windy day? No, but we can feel it.
When we pay attention, we can feel the energy in our hearts of the people and animals we love, whose energy has changed forms. Just like Buddy the hamster used to run around in his cage, his energy is now free like the butterfly. Buddy is able to exist in a different way but still be close to our hearts.
Alfred, that was beautifully explained, said Mrs. Katz. I think you reminding us of how our energy cannot disappear forever has made our hearts a little happier today. It is our job to remember that the ones we love are always near, no matter how far apart we think they are. So, does that mean that when people die, we can still feel their energy too? Asked Sandy. Yes, it does, said Alfred. Today was so helpful, said Sandy. I was very sad when you told us that Buddy had died. Now I feel so much better and look at things so differently. I now know that he is still around us. Thank you, Alfred and Mrs. Katz. The day has turned out better than when it started.
And that's the end of the book, guys. Whew, wow. Go Alfie. I'm 31 years old and Alf knows more than me. And for all parents and teachers, if you're having trouble explaining to the kids, they're asking, what happens when we die, mum and dad, teacher? And you like the way Alfie explained it? Go and buy it. It's available on Amazon. And just remember, kiddies, if no one will read your book at home, I will.